Tottenham Hotspur are set to take on Man United this Saturday afternoon in the Premier League. In today's video, I'll be bringing to you all a tactical breakdown of the game, going through how both sides will set up and how Thomas Frank can tactically outsmart Ruben Amorim to pick up a massive 3 points for the Lily Whites. Let's begin by talking about Manchester United, and I expect them to set up in this game how they have done in every game under Ruben Amorim, in a 3-4-2-1. This is the Portuguese manager's favoured system, as the two wing-backs can drop into a back five when his side don't have the ball and can play as wingers when his side do have the ball, creating overloads with a front five. Despite constant questions from Man United fans, opposition fans, journalists and pundits, he has shown no signs of wavering from this system, so it would be a real shock if he set up in a different formation against Tottenham. One of the big criticisms of Amorim's system is the fact that it only has two midfield players. Manchester United will often have those two midfield players drop deep when they're playing out, but then there's a huge gap between the midfield and the attack, as a 2-10 and striker will stay forward. They often get caught out in transition as well, as those two midfield players will commit high, and then there's a huge gap when the opposition win the ball often between the midfield and the defence. Despite that big weakness of the system, there is one huge strength, and that is how deadly it can be in transition. Most of Man United's goals under Ruben Amorim come from the side winning the ball high up the field thanks to their sort of pentagon-shaped press and then creating chances very quickly. A lot of those chances weren't fantastic last season though. A lot of their play in the final third lacked quality. The final pass, the final shot, it wasn't really there. Whereas this season, they're banging in a lot more goals. And that's because they now have that quality in those forward areas. Sesko up top hasn't really hit the ground running, but those two number 10s have been pivotal to their success. And Burmo's adapted so well, played as an inside forward at Brentford, so he's done extremely well. And Cunha, brilliant at Wolves, and he's been just as good at Manchester United. When Man United play against the back four, they'll often overload the opposition with the ball with 5 attacking players. The opposition centre-halves will usually look to mark the two number 10s. This then gives space to the striker and the wing-backs. The two number 10s will often be decoys and the ball is played wide to Ahmad, to Shaw, to whoever's out there, who will look for the cross to Sesko and last season Højlund in the middle of the box. Without the ball, Ruben Amorim, like many other managers in the Premier League, likes his team to stay narrow and compact. This is very important with this system because if they start to open up without the ball, there's so much space to expose in the middle of the park. Now that we've talked about how Amorim sets his United team up, let's delve into how Thomas Frank should set his Spurs team up this Saturday. In my opinion, the best formation to use would be 4-2-3-1, but I'm not opposed either to a 3-5-2 or a 4-3-3. The most important thing heading into this game for Spurs is that they set up with a midfield three, in my opinion. This is a game that is going to be won and lost in the middle of the park, and I think it's very important that we have that extra player in there. I believe Spurs should choose a midfield three of Pape Matar Sarr, Rodrigo Bentancur and Xavi Simons. All three played extremely well against Copenhagen, especially Bentancur, and we flowed so much more with that midfield three. João Paulinho has been nothing short of fantastic since joining Spurs, but I think he's a lot more suited to away games where the side have to sit in and counter-attack, and he can be your old-school number 6, where it's not expected of him to play forward passes, and all he has to do is put a strong foot in and be physical, because he's so good at doing that. He's been the best tackler in the league this season, that's factual. But in home games where we have to take initiative, where we have to be protagonists, I don't think he's suited. We saw that against Chelsea, constant backwards and sideways passes, and I think in the second half, if we're ahead in this game, you can bring him on. I think he's a great player to shore up a midfield, especially away from home, but for me, we've got to start with the same midfield three that flowed against Copenhagen. We've got to be looking for those line-breaking passes like we did against the Danish champions. Rodrigo Bentancur was playing a lot of those against Copenhagen. Pape Matar Sarr was attempting a lot of those, and therefore that allowed Xavi Simons to be a lot more involved in the game and put in his best performance yet. For similar reasons as to why I wouldn't start Paulinho, I would drop Spence for Udogie in this game. Spence is one of the best 1v1 fullbacks, not just in the Premier League, but in the world right now, in my opinion. But I think he suits away games where we're sat in a bit of a lower block more than home games where we have to go forward, because he doesn't really do anything in the final third, to be brutal about it. I've never really seen him put in a good cross, no real cutback. He doesn't really drive with the ball, whereas Destiny Udogie, a little bit weaker with 1v1s defensively than Spence, but at home against a team like Man United that we can get the better of, the levels are similar, I would start Udogie because of what he brings to the team going forward. He can drive, he's got a great cross on him, plays a lot of cutbacks as well, his link-up plays fantastic, uses his strength really well, so for me Udogie should start and Porro at right back. The centre-back partnership, in my opinion, should be Mickey van der Ven and Romero, as it always is when both are fit. But when we're playing out from the back, I think we should drop Bentancur into that sort of third centre-back role. We played out like this against Newcastle, did it against Everton. Didn't really do it in our last game against Chelsea in the Premier League, but we did it again against Copenhagen. It just allows us to flow a little bit more, have a few extra options. And when we're getting pressed by the three attacking players by United, and occasionally by five when the fullbacks go forward, we're going to need those options. So we're going to need Bentancur to drop in. I don't mind if it's Sarr who's the player who drops in, but for me, one of those two midfielders, one of those more defensive-minded midfielders has to drop in a little bit, in my opinion. When one of the two midfielders drop in, the two centre-halves should go as wide as possible in their box and the two fullbacks should be hugging the touchline. Use the width of the pitch. Ruben Amorim likes his Manchester United team to press in a sort of pentagon shape. So by using the width of the pitch, we can quickly play out and have an attack. When it comes to the front three, I would start Kolo Muani, Mohamed Kudus and Wilson Odobert. I feel like we're really missing Dominic Solanke in this kind of game. I said last week how Kulusevski would have been a massive asset, someone who can pick up the ball, drive with it and use his strength. I feel like Dominic Solanke would be great in this game. I look at the way that Igor Thiago played against Man United. They were constantly playing long balls up to him. He was holding the ball up brilliantly. We don't really have a player that can hold the ball up, so we've got to use our best players with the ball at their feet. And in my opinion, Muani's the best choice in the striker position. Would I have us smash balls long to him? No. I would have our long balls go into wide areas because I believe that Mohamed Kudus and Odobert will get a lot of space in this game, considering how far forward Man United's wing-backs go when they have the football, and the fact that they're not great defensively. Ahmad's much more of a natural winger, you know, if they have Mazraoui on the other side. He's not the best defensively. Luke Shaw, quite slow. So I feel like our wingers will play well in this game. So when we go long, try and look for the balls over the top to them. I think Muani can drift into wide areas to try and help out. And I think when he does this, when we have Man United penned back a little bit, Xavi Simons should drive into the box. A little bit like how James Maddison played against Manchester City last season, where he sort of pick up that striker role when Solanke would focus more on, you know, dropping a little bit deeper, drifting wide and linking up play. I think if we're ahead at half-time, we should make a couple of changes. João Paulinho for either Sarr or Bentancur, and Jed Spence for Destiny Udogie. This will shore us up a little bit more defensively, and I don't have a problem if we sit in a little bit. Ruben Amorim's system has found it very hard to break down low blocks, and we saw it in multiple games when we came up against Man United last season, especially the 1-0 win at home around February-March time, and the 1-0 win in the Europa League final. They never looked like they were going to score in either of those games, even if they had another 90 minutes to do so. So I think we should sit in a little bit in that second half if we are ahead, because that 3-4-2 ain't breaking down a low block. If Thomas Frank sets his team up, in my opinion, how he should, we're on course for a big win this Saturday against Man United. Thank you guys for watching this video. Take care of yourselves, all the best, and as always and forever, come on, you Spurs.